Hey, Kyle is wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's AEW Dynamite from June 29th, 2022. Just a few days after the amazing Forbidden Door pay-per-view, cross-branded with New Japan Pro Wrestling, we had Blood and Guts live in Detroit, my hometown. Unfortunately, I could not attend tonight's episode, and man, just watching this episode and hearing what they also have on Rampage tonight, this Friday really made me wish I was there. But I'm still not going out in crowds. I take care of my mother, and if I'll just never forgive myself if I get give COVID to my mom. So um that's why I didn't go tonight, but I did watch it on TV, and I'm here to review it. I enjoyed the show, good show overall, and that match was crazy. The match just ended a few minutes ago, and crazy stuff. I'll definitely get into it in the main event. Blood and Guts lived up to its name for sure. But yeah, Sunday was just an amazing celebration of professional wrestling as a whole. Just it wasn't just AEW and New Japan. It was just every independent promotion across the world and all the basically everybody but WWE, that just real people that love pro wrestling. It was an amazing show on Sunday. And so if you missed that, I got my review up for Forbidden Door. I've also got reviews out from Monday and Tuesday. I did BT and Elevation on Monday. Go check that review out. Really good stuff on BT, including a really heartfelt message from Matt Hardy. So check that out. I've also yesterday released the Dark review. It was the 150th episode, so they made sure it was a pretty good episode, and it also had Wheeler Yuta defending his ROH Pure title against Tony Nese, and they kind of set up the next opponent for whoever wins that. So check out my review on those. Just a quick news and notes coming out of Forbidden Door. It was announced that at the end of July, so not too long away, it will be ROH Death Before Dishonor, the first ROH pay-per-view actually held. That'll be creatively held by Tony Khan, if you remember. Or I think maybe Tony Khan had some creative over the last one, but he didn't have if they were already booked, they were already booked kind of deal. So people were already booked for the show, but he had some anyway. If you remember on Friday on Rampage, they kind of started introducing again some of the ROH storylines, like the Tully Blanchard Enterprises that we haven't seen anything since Super Card of Honor over WrestleMania weekend, which was ROH's last pay-per-view. But they have been trying to keep the ROH titles alive over on Dark and Elevation. So if you're like me and you watch those shows, you've been seeing those titles defended, and people like Mercedes Martinez and Wheeler Yuta showing off the titles, and of course FTR have been repping the tag titles. But Jonathan Gresham, the world champion for ROH, was out injured for a little bit, but he did return. He was on Friday Rampage, but we did not see anything pertaining to ROH on the entire episode of Dynamite tonight. Probably because we had the last hour, half of the show was taken up by Blood and Guts, so there was no room to fit some ROH stories in tonight. I'm assuming we might get a little bit on Rampage, but with the matches announced, there's nothing ROH, so we might see some of those backstage segments, maybe another backstage thing with Tully Blanchard or something like that. So, of course, the big match tonight is Blood and Guts. And if you don't know what that is, it's a two rings side by side with a cage going over both of them, and it's basically like War Games. It's their version of War Games. This one's going to be a six on six, and when we get to that match in the main event, I'll explain the rules then. But there was some rumors coming out of Forbidden Door that Jon Moxley might have a concussion, but it looks like he was fine, or at least he was in the match. So some people were thinking, oh, is Jon Moxley going to get pulled from this match? No, Jon Moxley was there, and he seemed fine. And throughout the last 24 hours, we've had, as usual, that's usually how it goes. The 24 hours before Dynamite, we'll get matches announced. So Jade Cargill had put out an open challenge for a TBS title, and it was accepted by Layla Gray. So that match will be tonight. Layla was last seen on Rampage in March, losing to Serena Deeb and the Professor's 5-minute challenge. And then Layla, after that, was on SmackDown, of all things, in April, losing to Raquel Rodriguez. So Layla Gray is also the current OVW champion. So anyway, another match announced is the acclaimed Gun Club. Max in 6-man tag. Max and Colton and Austin will fight Danhausen and two mystery opponents. So that'll be tonight. And also, they tell us that Christian Cage will speak. And if you remember how amazing his promo was last week, I was definitely looking forward to that. And it delivered tonight. So the other match and the one that'll kick off the show is Orange Cassidy versus Ethan Page. Ethan Page is kind of claiming Detroit, which is where they're at as his hometown, even though he's from Canada. I think he's living in Detroit right now. They actually put out a T-shirt that was like blue and gold, and he's like, "Oh, hey, got the Michigan colors for tonight. Buy my shirt." And I even had the tweet back like, that'll piss off half the fans in Detroit because half of us are Spartans. Go State, and we hate blue and gold. We wear green and white over here, or at least half of us. Anyway, I just thought that was a little funny. The show kicks off, so we'll just get right into it. We got a lot to cover, especially with that main event. But yeah, just other than that, a little bit of injury. Of course, all the injuries piling up now. Not just CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, but people like, remember we found out Red Velvet was injured. Before that, like a month ago, legit Layla Hirsch got injured. Now we found out that Sky Blue's out injured, among other people. So um, definitely, it's good that they have a massive roster right now. So next man up or next woman up, depending on which division they're in. So the show kicks off, and they say that Blood and Guts will be the main event. We all figured it would be. And out first is Orange Cassidy, and he's debuting his new music, Jane. And he used that in the Indies. Apparently, I never heard of Orange Cassidy before AEW, but uh, the song sounded great. So some people might be missing the Pixie song that he had originally, but this song sounded great, and it was a great way to kick off this show. Um, I was a little bit worried because someone like Orange Cassidy, who like, obviously Orange Cassidy proved that he can wrestle, having what a lot of I've heard a lot of people say that Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay was their match of the night, and I can't argue too much against that. It's not really my match of the night, but I really don't know what was. Um, maybe that no. Like, it would be tough to decide, but it was definitely up there. Orange Cassidy proved a lot of doubters wrong, but what I will say is you don't wanna overexpose Orange Cassidy by having him on every week or much or too having him do too much because the shtick can kinda wear old. Like, even I didn't find the, fake, like, mocking kicks funny ever. So now that then when you see it, like, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, it's like it kinda gets old. But like I said, the guy can go in the ring, and he does have a good gimmick. But there's not enough like good gimmicks around nowadays. So I think as long as they don't overexpose Orange Cassidy and have him wrestle every week, it'll be great. So I was a little worried, but this ended up being great. Great way to debut his new music. Jade sounded great. It was the first time I've ever seen him come out. I've never looked up his indie stuff. So he's gonna, like I said, he's gonna fight. Oh wait, no, I didn't mention Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta do accompany Orange Cassidy to the ring, and they're wearing new matching tie-dye jumpsuits. They almost look like they were Young Bucks members here with their tie-dye jumpsuits. But then Ethan Page comes out, the really big boos. They did not like Ethan Page. Dan Lambert starts talking right away when they make their entrance. The crowd boos even more. Lambert says something about the Michigan Athletic Commission and how I don't know why he said that. But then he because I thought he would have said something else, but like he had mentioned that this jeans wearing guy out here, so I thought he was gonna say like, oh, like the state athletic commission doesn't allow people to wrestle in jeans. But no, he says something about the athletic commission, blah blah blah, and then the best friends don't have a manager's license. So the referee the referee just agrees and kicks out the best friends from being ringside. And that was kind of weird. But yeah, the Trent and Chuck E. T just leave, and the crowd chants BS. So we got a really hot crowd here. Detroit's first ever AEW show. I really wish I could have been there. Uh, Orange puts his hand in his pockets right as the bell starts. We get some of his innovative no hands offense. Has there ever been a no? I'm sure there has been, but we've seen a couple different like no leg or one legged wrestlers. But I haven't really seen anybody mainstream being a no armed wrestler. So that's kind of what Orange does when he puts his hands in his pockets. He tries or he not tries, but he does anything he can think of that doesn't involve like that you can do with no arms and having your arms to your side basically. But anyway, that's all really good, and he does two different nip ups while having the arms, which is shows show the fact that he can do that shows you right there that he's really athletic. So like I'm saying, I'm not like the biggest Orange Cassidy guy. I don't pop or find the excitement or entertainment from the gimmick per se, but it's not someone that like when I see him on the show, I'm like, oh, I wish he wasn't on the show kind of deal. I just don't like it's not my favorite kind of thing. But this was a good match, and Orange then dives so he hits no after that, he Orange hits the bicep pose and then dives out of the ring on the Ethan, and then hits a diving crossbody, but only gets a 1 count. Ethan then blocks a scoop slam, and then blocks a tornado DDT as well. So Ethan much stronger than Orange here. Ethan then hits a big shoulder block and slows the match down to his pace. Ethan then has Cassidy's hands and puts them in his own pockets, which we kind of saw some of that at Forbidden Door as well. The crowd boos this heavily. They don't like that. Don't mess with the man's pockets. But a delayed vertical suplex by Ethan, which if you saw my dark review from last night, there was 3 different delayed suplexes on an hour show. But thankfully, this was the only vertical suplex all night. So good stuff here. Then Ethan hits his own bicep pose. So we've got dueling bicep poses now. Good match here. Ethan blocks another move, and then Dan Lambert does some mocking kicks to Orange on the outside. So that was decently funny. I popped at that. I won't lie. I love Dan Lambert. You can see now that Dan is holding a bottle of orange juice. So, spoiler alert that orange juice is going to be involved in this match at some point, and we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. So pretty good start to this show. Ethan then keeps the pace slow as he picks apart Cassidy in the ad break. When we get back, Ethan goes for the Eagle's edge, but Orange gets his hands in his pockets to block it. So like the power of him getting his hands in his pockets was able to um, block the Eagle's edge. Ethan immediately goes for the Eagle's edge again, but Orange then counters this one and now goes to climb the ropes on the outside, but Lambert grabs Cassidy's leg. We get a massive power slam by Ethan. Orange kicks out at 2. You can hear Lambert screaming from the outside, finish this guy. He looks like a 12-year-old. I again popped at that. Ethan yells at a kid now. You can hear the little kid's voice like yelling back. That was pretty funny. And then Ethan said, "This is for you, kid." But Orange counters it into a stun dog millionaire. Great stuff. Great story like telling throughout this match. Just entertaining stuff. Orange then hits the tornado DDT, but only gets a 2 count. Orange then takes his elbow pad off, looking for the orange punch, but Lambert gets on the apron. Orange does some mocking shoves, not kicks, but shoves this time, and then tries to fakes out that he's about to punch him for real, and Lambert cowers in fear. So Orange steals the orange juice, takes a sip. So that's all we get out of the orange juice tonight. It's not poured on. We don't end this segment with that's what I was thinking. I was thinking we were gonna end this segment with Orange Cassidy getting orange juice poured on him, but nope. It's just here for him to take a quick sip. Probably orange juice is like Popeye spinach when it probably powers Orange up. And then Ethan tries to jump him from behind when all this is happening and he's drinking the orange juice, but Orange counters it with an orange punch on the Ethan and then an orange punch to Lambert. Orange finally hits that scoop slam that he's been trying all match and gets the 1, 2, 3. Enjoyable match, and the new music plays again, which sounded great. Trent and Chucky T back out in their pretty cool looking, but like I said, they look like they were young bucks, tie-dye jumpsuits, and they do the best friend hugs, thumbs up, and camera pan as we go to an ad break. So at this point, it was 17 minutes into the show after this first segment. After the break, Tony Schiavone's on the ramp and he introduces Christian Cage. And while Christian was coming out, I'm pretty sure I saw someone in the ring. Oh, there's two rings, but one of the rings when they had the faraway shot. And I write down, it looked like a masked wrestler. I thought it was Fuego del Sol, but I was wrong. So we'll see in a little bit here. Christian comes out, the huge, probably the biggest boos of the night were for Christian, which is lovely. And the work Christian did as a heel last week was amazing. And Christian comes out wearing for the second week in a row, another amazing James Bond villain type outfit. This one's all black, looking like, oh man, Christian could really get himself into like a Bond movie as a villain. I would believe him as an actor in that. Anyway, the crowd won't even let Christian talk. He's getting so much heel heat. Christian says, I was asked by upper management to come out and apologize about what I said about Jungle Boy's father. Well, I've never apologized for anything. But that being said, wait for it. Christian says, that being said, I'm sorry your entire family isn't dead. Wow. Wow. Even the announcers go holy, and the crowd just boos like no other. Like, I can't believe he just said that. And then Christian goes, well, actually, on second thought, everybody except your mother, Jungle Boy, like kind of insinuating that he's gonna do despicable things to her. This is just ridiculous. This is so much heel heat. Christian's amazing. And Christian says, well, you might be wondering why I'm out here in my street clothes when I had requested a match, but that match wasn't for me. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I knew what it was immediately, but it was really cool. All of a sudden, like, we get a really evil sounding music, almost like old school Kane music, with a bunch of fiery pyro happens, and the LED boards make it look like you're in like a fiery cave, like a cavern where a dragon or whatever would be. And out comes evil Luchasaurus in all black, including a black mask and a black lipstick and tongue or whatever. A really cool look here. Actually, the music, it sounded like it definitely gave off vibes of Kane with all the fire and the music. But go listen to what was, I think they were called the Unholy Alliance. It was Undertaker and Big Show right after the Ministry of Darkness dissolved. Undertaker was still kind of in his ministry phase, and he took Big Show under his wing and was showing Big Show tough love in a tag team called the Unholy Alliance. And go listen to their music on YouTube and then listen to this new Luchasaurus music. I haven't done it yet because I just watched the show and came right on, but do that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be sounding pretty dang similar. Anyway, evil Luchasaurus is here. The crowd doesn't even know what to do at this point. I think the crowd thinks it's amazing, but they also like want to boo the hell out of anything to do with Christian, because Christian was getting all this heel heat, and they kind of like Luchasaurus, but they hate Christian, even though Luchasaurus seems to be turning heel. But the crowd doesn't know what to do, so they just it's kind of like no noise, or just, you know what I mean? Maybe they're just in awe. It was a little awkward and a little disappointing. I bet they were wishing that all the boos that Christian were getting would transfer to Jungle Boy, but it didn't. I mean, to Luchasaurus, but it didn't quite seem that way. Anyway, um, evil Luchasaurus comes out in all black, and Serpentico is actually the masked man in the ring. So, Serpentico. So the match starts. Big headbutt to start the match, right into a suplex by Luchasaurus. And Christian is out managing Luchasaurus and tells Lucha to end it right away. Luchasaurus hits a big move and then applies Jungle Boy's submission, the snare trap. But then he adds a nerve hold, which sadly did not go Cro-Magnum, but a snare trap with an additional nerve hold. Serpentico taps right away. And like I said, the crowd doesn't really boo Luchasaurus like they did Christian. After the match, Lucha hits a big choke slam on Serpentico on the outside, which then did get some boos, which I'm sure maybe people more once they get past the whole holy crap, look at this entrance and this music and he's all in black and they kind of like Luchasaurus and all the stuff he does, especially once Lucha like attacks Jungle Boy. Now Jungle Boy we found out is out with he's another one on the injured list right now. Man, if someone pulls up the actual list of injured people, I bet it's at like 30 people, but thankfully for AEW, if you include men and women, they still probably have over 100 active on the roster. That's how insanely deep their roster is. Now they got these fringe ROH guys that I'm assuming that they have under contract, like Jonathan Grisham and the Tully Enterprise guys and stuff like that. So there's so many people on the roster. We almost need an ROH show and a separate women's show, and I think AEW could pull all that off. They just need to find the right places to put those shows. They need to get that streaming deal with HBO Max, which is owned by I'm pretty sure HBO Max is owned by the same Universal people that own TNT and TBS and all that. AEW gets on there, they can create a women's show, they can create I don't know, maybe we can get a tag team only show. Who knows? But we could get special shows maybe, but right now like cuz think about it, we still have like 100 people and then these people are going to come back from injury. So and we still don't know what the heck they're going to do with ROH. But yeah, that chokeslam the Serpentico ended that segment, and we go right to the back. We see Scorpio Sky and Wardlow, and they're with Tony Schiavone. Scorpio says to Wardlow that I'm already beating you, and Tony Schiavone brings up, yeah, but you guys like cheated and stuff, but that gets ignored. Wardlow says, I'm sick of all this. Bring all of the America Top Team, you know, the Dan Lambert guys, if you want. I'll beat all of them, and then I'll beat you. Wardlow says to Scorpio. Scorpio says, all right, well, next week on Dynamite, it's you and me for the TNT title in a street fight. So, wow. But that does mean Scorpio Sky can have anybody he wants help him. So we'll see if Wardlow can fight off 20 people again. And let's pause on this real quick. Wardlow had no match at Forbidden Door, which is kind of ridiculous. Wardlow was one of the hottest wrestlers coming out of one of the hottest pay-per-views in AEW history, Double or Nothing. Then our champion goes down with injury. Then Daniel Bryan goes down with injury. Bryan Danielson, apologies. And and they kind of like they didn't capitalize on the Wardlow thing. They made him even more like Goldberg and then had him feud with Smart Mark Sterling of all people. And I was pretty bored with that 20-on-1 fight Wardlow had last week, and then, like I said, he wasn't even a presence at Forbidden Door whatsoever. So at this point, I mean, to me, I would almost put Wardlow on whatever they're gonna do with ROH and have Wardlow be like the ROH champion and feud with like Brian Cage and Tully Enterprises. At this point, like you already dropped the ball. It's almost gonna be too late with Wardlow. You really dropped the ball with Wardlow in the last month. So I think at this point, just have him go be ROH champion on whatever ROH show they have and have him be in ROH for a year or two. Then bring Wardlow back to the AEW main roster and have him go on his run. Because right now, you had him so fired up, he's never gonna be that fired up again. And they have done nothing. He feuded with Smart Mark Sterling and then wasn't even on the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. So it's baffling. The more they made him more and more like Goldberg, which doesn't do him any favors. And Wardlow in this segment right here, his promo absolutely sucked. Wardlow sounded god awful with his cadence. He didn't sound like he was comfortable talking. So freaking don't have Wardlow talking, man. This guy's out here saying, "Oh, welcome to Wardlow's world," like it's freaking Bobby's world, and he's on a tricycle. Like they have completely dropped the ball with this guy. Like when I was watching it, so I got a little mad, but now I'm actually really mad because Wardlow seemed like such a cool guy. We were gonna get new music. Remember, he was gonna come out the new music, and we didn't get that. And then they didn't give him any feuds. He didn't have a fight and he wasn't even a backstage presence at Forbidden Door. And now all we get this week is like that terrible promo from Wardlow. So, oh man, they dropped the ball big time. And like I said, what I would do is I just have him go be ROH champion on whatever ROH show they have and bring him back in a year because you dropped the ball, man. It's gonna be hard to heat him back up. I could be wrong. Now I could be wrong. They might have him in a good feud, and the crowd just goes crazy once he. But I think they really dropped the ball. And the more he talks, it says like it's welcome to Wardlow world, the less effective he's gonna be. So anyway, let's move on. Max Caster's music hits all of a sudden, so this is gonna be good. Um, and I really liked Max Caster's rap here. So he goes, because I'm from Detroit, so Max Caster goes, uh, that he says he's gonna beat the S out of a juggalo, calling Danhausen a juggalo. And the crowd actually, there's some in the not a huge section, but there are some juggalos in the house, and the juggalos in the house boo that. If you don't know, juggalos are ICP fans. They all paint their face like ICP. Well, not all, but most. Sorry to any juggalos out there maybe watching, but from what I've seen here in Detroit, I would call all juggalos trailer trash for the most part. Like I'm an Eminem guy. I at least uh there's a long feud. I've been feuding with juggalos for 25 years, so I found this line amazing. And man, I was at the very first ever TNA house show, and ICP just happened to be wrestling on that show in a tag match against Scott D'Amore and Petey Williams. And they must have put out to all their Juggalo fans that they were gonna be there, because man, that building was like 4,000 people, and there was at least there was like 1,000 Juggalos there out of the 4,000. One out of four people were Juggalos, and I was hating life. But that show ended up being amazing. In that match, actually, somehow Scott D'Amore got blinded and hit Scott D'Amore hit a picture perfect Canadian Destroyer on the inventor of the Canadian Destroyer, Petey Williams. So that made me think, damn, did Scott D'Amore invent that move and teach it to Petey or what? Because Scott hit that picture perfect. And I was at Kevin Owens' ROH farewell show here in Detroit as well, and Scott D'Amore was there. I shook his hand and told him, man, that was such a sick Canadian Destroyer at the first ever TNA house show, and he had a really good belly laugh off of that one. When I asked him if he invented it, he didn't answer, by the way. But then I said, I hope to see you in TNA again. And he said, well, never say never. And then it was only a year or two later that Scott D'Amore was heavily featured in Impact, and to this day, heavily featured on Impact. Anyway, going back to this, that was only like the first line in the rap. And then Max Caster goes, I'm going to make you drink the tap water in Flint, which, if anybody knows about the water in Flint and that whole issue, of Flint being a town an hour north of Detroit, who has really terrible water and it has for years, and I don't know why it's not fixed yet. Anyway, it's going to be Max Caster, Colton Gunn, and Austin Gunn versus Danhausen and two mystery opponents. So Danhausen comes out alone and gets on the microphone. He says he's found some people that are pretty good at wrestling, I guess. And then all of a sudden, FTR's music hits, the huge pops. Again, some of the biggest cheers of the night for FTR here. And again, I was like, oh, I missed an FTR match by not being there live. But anyway, huge cheers. They come out with all three titles. So they've got the AAA from Mexico titles, they've got the ROH from USA titles, and they've got the IWGP heavyweight titles from Japan. FTR just on top of the world right now. Taz is like, how did Danhausen pull this off? And Excalibur says, well, maybe he cursed FTR, which was pretty funny. Cash and Austin are going to start out the match. Austin already gets more offense than he did on Monday. If you listen to my review of Elevation, Austin was in the ring with the Dark Order and got no offense. Everything got countered or blocked. He got zero offense. But here he is in the ring with FTR on Dynamite getting some offense in. So Cash has to fight back and hits an atomic drop and then slaps the butt, which was a little awkward. But and then tags in Dax. Dax hits a big elbow, and then Danhausen tags in. Huge Danhausen chant from the Detroit crowd. He's over. It's crazy. Uh, Hurricanrana by Danhausen and two hip toss take out all three members. Danhausen just cleared the ring, which is crazy. It makes me think back to that Tony Nese beating Danhausen in what was it, 10 seconds and one move. Anyway, Colton then lays out Danhausen, and we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. and they completely isolate Danhausen the entire ad break with quick tags galore, and Danhausen is in trouble. And even when we get back, we get another like whole minute of Danhausen getting beaten up. And Dax finally gets the tag and clears house. So Dax is just on fire in general, but really on fire here in the match by getting the tag. But eventually the action just breaks down. Everybody brawls, and Dax is down as well as everyone else. But who's the only one up? Danhausen. So Danhausen gets the hot tag and comes in, and Danhausen says he's going to put him to sleep and goes for the GTS. And Billy Gunn then distracts the referee, and Anthony Bowens springs out of his wheelchair and goes to hit Danhausen with a crutch, but Danhausen ducks, and Bowens hits Austin Gunn right in the face with the crutch. 1, 2, 3. Danhausen gets the win. Danhausen then goes and celebrates with FTR on the outside of the ring. Inside the ring, the Acclaimed and the Gun Club are now arguing. Austin shoves Bowen, but Billy shoves Austin to the ground, and we get a huge daddy ass chant from the crowd. And then Colton and Austin leave on their own as it's seemingly Billy has chosen sides, or just the whole tough love thing, not really choosing sides. But anyway, we go to a video package, and it's Sanjay Dutt saying, "At Death Before Dishonor, we need you to make it official." Then Jay Lethal says, "How long is it going to take? Put the ROH title on the line, Joe." And then Satnam Singh says, "Joe, Jay is going to kill you, man." Just a little tiny segment here. I guess we did get, that was our ROH segment for the night. It lasted about 15 seconds. Then all of a sudden we hear Jade Cargill's music hitting, and Jade gets huge cheers. Jade is over with this Detroit crowd. Jade's out alongside Kiera Hogan and Stokely Hathaway. Of course, remember Red Velvet unfortunately got injured a couple weeks ago. And last week they put out a call for a new baddie, a search for a new baddie, which a lot of people online want to be Sonny Kiss, who is still on the roster, and I don't think he's been on. I think Sonny Kiss alternates between genders, so I don't know, but Sonny Kiss hasn't been on Dynamite in like over a year and still on the roster. Anyway, Kira almost gets her or kind of does get her heel stuck where the ramp ends and almost trips, and Stokely kind of laughs at her. And already in the ring is Layla Gray. I remember I explained earlier she's been on SmackDown recently, losing the Raquel, and she's also been part of the Professor's 5-minute rookie challenge with Serena Deeb. So here she is again, Layla Gray, getting a TBS title shot with the open challenge. Layla Gray coming in with a 0 wins and 4 loss record in AEW. So the bell rings. Jake takes control with on the arm, getting arm control right away, and then hits a slam. And the crowd really loves Jade. So Layla Gray then blocks a corner splash, but Jade counters into the fallaway slam. And Jade talks to the crowd a little bit and takes her eye off the ball, gets rolled up for a 2 count, which is like the closest she's come to losing in a while. Layla gets a little bit of offense in, but that just makes Jade mad. She hits a massive pump kick that puts even like Preston 10 to shame. Like, what a massive pump kick. Jaded then hit for the 1, 2, 3. Easy win here in only like a minute. Kiera and Stokely are now in the ring. Jay gets on the mic, or she takes it away from Stokely and says she's tired of the fans and the women in the back moaning and complaining. She then angrily throws the microphone at Stokely and says to get her some better competition. Stokely then says that Jade gave everyone 24 hours notice to accept her challenge, and nobody did. Someone from outside the company had to accept. Statlander and Athena, you're not overlooked, you're just lazy. Which I mean, if Stokely's saying the truth here, then yeah, why didn't they accept the open challenge? But I guess we're to the believe that she didn't really give them 24 hours notice. I don't really know, but I guess we're to assume that Stokely Hathaway's lying. But then Athena and Chris run out after this diss, and they get to beat down for a little bit, but Athena goes to the top rope to hit the O face, and Layla Gray, the person who just got beat of all people, shoves Athena off the top rope to make the save. Layla then goes to shake Stokely's hand, but Jade shoves Layla Gray's hand away and takes Stokely and Kiera out, and the three of them leave Layla Gray in the ring. So Layla Gray wanted to be the next baddie, and Jade said, "Get out of here," having just beat her in a minute. So that makes I like that. If Jade just accepted her, then you're accepting someone you just beat in a minute. We're to assume that Kiera can at least last a few minutes with Jade in the ring, you know. So I like the booking on that. We get a little ad here for Dynamite Grand Slam in September. I think it's on the 22nd. If you remember, that's the Arthur Ashe, the tennis stadium in New York. Big show. That's almost like a pay-per-view on free TV. So you can expect some major things to happen on there. And I think it's like only a couple of weeks after All Out, or they might, I don't know if it's All Out or All In now that they own the rights to both, but anyway, in the back, we get our little tiny Young Bucks segment for the night, and they're sitting on a couch, just the two of them. They've got the AEW tag titles on their shoulders, and they say, um, "Well, it's just us two. Red Dragon and Adam Cole are now injured. Even Brandon Cutler isn't here." So the Bucks say, "Nobody in the locker rooms are friends." And then they say, "Well, except these titles," and they point at their titles. Then Matt says, "Well, Yoshihashi and Goto stayed in America and challenged them to a non-title match on Rampage." And damn, I missed out on seeing Goto live and hearing his amazing music. I wish I could have been there. But JR now makes an entrance, and he's going to call the main event. So, I mean, the next match, we're told. So it must be time for the main event. I look at the clock. JR's music hits with about 65 minutes left in Dynamite. Then we get the rundown of what else is on Rampage. So also on Rampage is Nyla Rose, who is the number one ranked women's competitor, goes up against Tony Storm, who just had a title shot and probably still highly ranked. So maybe Nyla Rose is gonna, man, that's like the two people that um Thunder Rosa's already feuded with, other than a tiny match with Marina. So what's next for Thunder Rosa other than just Jade taking her title, which is gonna happen eventually? I mean, where the heck is Jamie Hayter? Can't we get a Jamie Hayter title feud for a little bit? Yeah, we haven't seen Britt Baker in. Did we see her last week? But we definitely didn't see her tonight. Anyway, well, a lot of people couldn't get on the show tonight. Oh, but wait till I tell you what the next. If you missed it and you haven't heard this yet, wait till you hear this. So also on Rampage is a Royal Rampage, or maybe Rampage Royale, which would sound better, but I think he said Royal Rampage. But man, Rampage Royale sounds so much better. But it's a 20-man battle royal with, I think, the two rings. So a two-ring 20-man battle royal for a shot at the number one contendership for the interim AEW World Title against Moxley. So that'll be this Friday, and and that's happening like as we speak right now. It's being taped here in Detroit, which I could be there watching that battle royal right now. Man. Anyway, go out of your way to try to not get spoiled on that. I'm sure all the news outlets are going to want to talk about who the new number one tender is. So if you just want to watch Rampage and not be spoiled, you might not want to listen to your normal What Culture news in the morning or anything like that, because I guarantee you they're going to tell you, "Oh, and the next person that Moxley's going to face is blah, blah, blah." And they spoil Rampage for you. So Friday's only 2 days away, and we're almost into Thursday now. So I would say avoid all the news until Friday comes out. Just avoid any news for wrestling until Friday, so you can watch that battle royal and be surprised. Because I guarantee you, they're all gonna spoil it for you. And you might want to avoid Twitter too. Damn, it could be worth it though, because at this point we have no idea who could just go and challenge Mox. Anyway, because it could be anybody. Anyway, then the blood and guts theme plays as the cage lowers. And I know that I love that WWE and AEW both have like cage themes when the cage lowers, as if the cage was their own separate person. like if as if like a special unlockable on the video game, and you can pick the cage to wrestle like an actual. It's gonna be the Cage versus Brian Cage, and the Cage comes out to its Cage music. It has its own entrance music. But yeah, that lowers, and it takes a little bit of time, so to set everything up, and they didn't go to commercial while it was set up, so they kind of just talk about uh different things and hype the big match that's coming up. But then we do go to a hype video package for the match, and I thought it was just going to be a lot of stuff that we haven't seen before, but no, this video package had a lot of like new material, like sit down interviews. I had Dean Malenko, Ruby Soho, Excalibur, and I think there was others, but those were the three I noted. Ruby brings up the history between Cesaro and Kingston. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking about this. I can give you right now the quick synopsis of the Cesaro and Kingston rivalry, and it goes back to a little company called Shikara. Now, if you don't know what Shikara is, that's a whole nother can of worms. So let's just um, say it was a company, and back in like 2009, Cesaro and Kingston, they had a couple matches before that, but they had this big match to end season 9. So they had seasons in Shikara. It was very story, not like to the extent of Lucha Underground, but anyway, Cesaro won that match, and Kingston was all upset, and he wanted to get at Cesaro. Now, tell me if you've heard this before. Kingston was going around saying, Cesaro, you might all think he's a great guy, but I'm deep in my heart, I know this guy's a scumbag. He's gonna be the first to stab you in the back. And sure enough, in season 10, Cesaro turned heel and started a massive heel stable that tried to take over the entire company. So where did you hear that before? Kingston said the same thing a few months ago about CM Punk. So we're definitely CM Punk is going to be a heel at one point, and then Kingston's going to be like, "See, I told you so," and we'll probably get Cesaro or Claudio as a heel at some point too, and then Kingston's going to be, "See, I told you so." But anyway, they only had one more singles match, so all of season 10, all of 2010, Claudio had a few matches only in tag matches against Kingston, and was always able to like run away like MJF was doing with CM Punk. So it was like March of 2011, and finally it was going to be Cesaro versus Kingston, and this match was an epic match, one of the most underrated in American independent matches ever. Like legitimately, go find the Cesaro versus Kingston match from Shikaro in 2011. You will not be disappointed, and you'll know exactly where all this comes from. Anyway, Cesaro wins that match through a bunch of heel stuff, and then guess what happens? Cesaro gets signed by WWE. Kingston never gets his payback, and Kingston, nobody has ever told Eddie Kingston that wrestling is fake. So Eddie Kingston's been talking on social media for 11 years now, ever since then, that he wants his revenge on Claudio Castagnoli. So now here they are teaming up together, and my prediction was that I figured that Claudio and Kingston weren't going to be able to get along, and they were going to cost them the match, and Jericho Appreciation Society was going to win tonight because of that. So that was my prediction coming in. And I'll explain everything that goes on here in a minute. So we'll see if that happens if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, so Ruby was the one that told us that. If you remember, she's friends with Kingston and Pride and Powerful and stuff like that. Dean Malenko's then putting over the brutality of this match. I don't know why. Well, I guess Dean was there to tell us how brutal Jericho is, because he's known Jericho a long time. So here's the rules. If you guys don't know what the rules of the Blood and Guts match, let me get a drink real quick. So it's 2 rings side by side, with a cage that goes over both of them with a lid on it, like a Hell in a Cell cage with a roof. And 2 members start the match, one from each side. After 4 minutes, 1 member of Jericho Appreciation Society enters. Now, if you remember the match at Forbidden Door on Sunday with Jericho and Minoru Suzuki and Sammy Guevara versus Yuta and Shota Umino and Kingston. The winner of that match got to have the man advantage. So of course the heels Jericho Appreciation Society got the man advantage. So anyway, going back to the rules, two start in the match after 4 minutes. A Jericho Appreciation Society member enters, and then each 3 minutes after that, an alternating style, people will come in. So every single time Jericho Appreciation Society will have the man advantage all the way until all 12 are in the match. Then the match will officially begin, and the only way to win is surrender or submission. So Jericho Appreciation Society make their entrance in all red matching outfits. They've got suspenders, fedoras, leather pants, mesh shirts like Christian used to wear back in the day. All of it red. And Ty Conti's there too in a great looking red outfit. She looked like $1,000,000. And yeah, this match is wild. So Kingston's music hits now. The crowd goes crazy for Kingston. Detroit's definitely the kind of town that would give it that would like a guy like Kingston, with just a gritty kind of town. Cesaro's now out, and with Yuta and Regal, they all come out to Cesaro's terrible music. I do not like that. It makes me think like Malcolm in the Middle is starting. That Cesaro music, man, come on, it's so cheesy sounding. Anyway, big cheers for them. And again, when Moxley's music hits, he comes through the crowd, seemingly just dragging the interim title with him. But then I don't think it was touching the ground, but it almost looked like it was. Regal's going to go on commentary for this match, which is awesome. I loved. Oh, it's so great that Regal came here. Man, it's just so great that Regal's here. Anyway, he says, tonight, Jericho's going to get his comeuppance. And Regal says, Moxley ripped my earlobe off. Cesaro made me retire because he's so brutal. And young Wheeler Yuta is ready, putting over his Blackpool Combat Club guys here really well. He did a good job of that. Kingston is now laughing, and he's super fired up for all the violence that's going to happen. We've got War Paint on Pride and Powerful. Of course, Sammy Guevara is going to start out for Jericho Appreciation Society. He's a stamina beast. Kingston yells at Claudio here, but it seemingly was just a yell of pump him ups, because I was like, oh, is Kingston already yelling at Claudio? Which he was, but then Kingston gives the big fist pump or the fist bump to Claudio, and Claudio's gonna start this match. So it looks like Kingston's putting everything aside for this, for the greater good, or whatever, however you want to put it. Claudio's going to start this match with Sammy Guevara, and Claudio's going to have to try and do his best to take out Sammy Guevara in this 4 minutes so that he can avoid the 2-on-1. If he can take out Sammy in 4 minutes, then he can just fight whoever comes in next 1-on-1 kind of deal. So we get a quick start. Claudio hits his running forearms. Regal tells us that Dave Taylor was the one that taught him those uppercuts of his, I think. Or maybe it was the running forearms. Anyway, Sammy fights back, and that just makes Claudio mad. Sammy bounces off the ropes awkwardly, trying to when Claudio sends him to the other ring. I was like, oh no, not Sammy getting injured in the beginning, but he seemed to be fine. Sammy tries to climb out of the cage already just at the beginning, but Claudio pulls him down. Then Sammy hits triple springboards to get to the other ring while running away. So Sammy's being smart here. He knows that he just has to stay alive for 4 minutes, and then he can get the 2-on-1 beatdown. So he needs to try and not get incapacitated in the 4 minute span. Sammy then counters the elevator uppercut into a cutter, and Ty Conti's loving this, and her and Sammy kiss through the cage. Sammy Guevara then turns around right into a giant swing, but before the swing can start, Daniel Garcia is already in. So Daniel Garcia, again, doesn't wear the same headgear. Remember, they all came out in the kangaroo hats that last time in Anarchy in the Arena, that Garcia normally was wearing those, but then he came out in a different hat while they all wore that. So this time they all came out in fedoras. Daniel Garcia comes in a red do-rag. So we go to a picture-in-picture ad break right as the heels get their 2-on-1. So that's kind of funny. And there's special blood and guts graphics to the picture-in-picture ad break. So it's like all red, and it's like you could see like the dual cage, or I mean the dual rings with a cage on it. So special graphics for the picture-in-picture ad breaks. I think there ends up being 4 picture-in-picture ad breaks during this entire match. So good reason to make a special edition graphics in the background. Anyway, um, while all that's happening, Sammy and Garcia are beating down Claudio, and they hit a few double team moves. And all of this while the do-rag stays on Garcia for a while. So that was pretty funny. Claudio then counters a double team move. Remember, he's in there by himself into a suplex on both men at the same time. That was a good move. But Garcia runs away right away after this. Claudio goes on the chase, but it gets hit from behind by Guevara. And right when we get back from the break, Yuta joins the match to even the odds at 2 versus 2. And smart choices so far. All the people that can go the distance are in, and I write down I could see Jericho and Mox being last, but I was wrong on that. It was definitely always going to be Jericho and Kingston. So Yuta hits a ton of German suplexes in a row again, just like he did at Forbidden Door. They were looking great. And then a double team with Cesaro on the last of those Germans. So good stuff here between the BCC. Yuta beats down Sammy. Claudio's beating down Garcia, but now Jake Hager's in, and Jake Hager catches a dive by Yuta and slams Yuta down. And wow, now we get a stare down between Jake Hager and Claudio Castagnoli. And not once before this did I remember that we get the We the People stare down here. What was their name? Because I know their name wasn't We the People. Was it the Real Americans? No, something Americans. Anyway, really cool callback here to We the People. We get a We the People chant from the Detroit crowd. Shout out Detroit. Those are my people. But we get an uppercut to Hager by Claudio right away, but the numbers advantage works in Jericho Appreciation Society's favor, and they're able to take out Yuta and Claudio now 3-on-2. Yuta counters Hager and hits a drop kick from the top rope. Claudio battles back, but Jake takes him down with an amateur slam, like an amateur style slam. And Moxley's in next, so I was definitely wrong on thinking Moxley would be last. Well, I was thinking maybe because he had a concussion, but maybe that was a rumor/lie. But Moxley brings a chair in with him. I think he brings 2 chairs, but he throws one of them at Jake Hager, taking him down. Mox then takes out both Sammy and Garcia. Big Moxley chant from the crowd. Claudio then hits a bulldog onto Jake Hager, his former tag partner, right onto one of the chairs. Garcia then gets his face raked into the cage by Moxley. Moxley then pokes Garcia's forehead with a fork. Yes, Moxley has brought a fork into this match. And Claudio now beats up Sammy right in front of Ty. That was pretty funny. Garcia's now busted wide open, of course, with the fork. Yuta double teams with Mox to take down Garcia. Great teamwork here. They turn to Sammy and then hit a double team cutter with Moxley and Claudio. Then a dive by Yuta right after that. So like a triple team move here. They're just they all pick a man now. They all go to a different man and do the hammer and anvil elbows. And as they do this, Cool Hand Angelo Parker comes in, and all 3 of the Blackpool Combat Club members stop the hammer and anvil to stare at Ange, which now the crowd chants, "You effed up, you effed up," and Ange just looks scared out of his life as the 3 Blackpool Combat Club members stare him down, and he's all alone in a cage with them. So Ange runs around scared for his life and does a good job for about 10 seconds. He was doing some parkour. Um, man, a match like this would be awesome for Johnny Elite. I don't know if we're ever gonna see him in AEW again, to be honest. The only reason I think we'll ever see him again is if they want Taya Valkyrie, which I hope she doesn't come to AEW. I'm not a fan. She's good in the ring, but I think she's selfish and um just go watch my review of NWA Always Ready for my thoughts on that. Anyway, this match is crazy. So Ange is running around for his life, but like I said, 10 seconds later, Claudio grabs him, hits a gut wrench slam and a Michinoku driver in succession. Blackpool Combat Club now triple team Cool Hand Ange, as the other 3 JAS members are recovering in the other ring. And then as I write that, Blackpool Combat Club go after the other 3. So they thought the same thing I was. Oh, we're letting the other three recover, so let's go get them. Ange tries to use the chair now that they took their eye off of him, but Mox stops him right away. Claudio gets his ankle hit from another chair. So, like I said, there's two chairs in the ring. His former tag partner Jake Hager hits Claudio in the ankle. Then Claudio eats a few more chair shots. So Ortiz now, and he's got his head shaved, of course, and like the shaved head part is all like I wouldn't call it red or purple. I would call it mauve, and it comes down like the mauve comes to his eyes, but like all the way across his head. It's really cool looking, with his war paint. But yeah, Ortiz looks great, and we go to a picture-in-picture ad break at this point. I think the second out of 4. The action is wild now, and with the little box, it's kind of hard to report what's all happening. But all of a sudden, Moxley finds a black bag, and inside of it is glass. Moxley scatters the glass all across one of the rings, and then hits a pile driver on. I think it was Cool Hand Ange. Yeah, definitely was. Moxley hits a pile driver on the glass, and now I'm thinking, oh no, not another advertiser. Like remember with the Nick Gage pizza cutter during the Domino's commercial, which to this day I still think there's no way that's a coincidence. Somebody in marketing or something had to have told them that, yo, there's gonna be a Domino's ad in this. You know, it would be funny if we put a pizza cutter spot right during that ad. There's no way that was a coincidence. So anyway, I'm wondering if there's gonna be not. That I understand why Pizza Hut, because literally in the Domino's commercial, there's a while they were doing that, someone was cutting a pizza with a pizza cutter. But yeah, we got not only pile driven through the glass, but now Moxley's um stabbing the glass in the forehead of Cool Hand Ange during 3 different commercials. So potentially 3 different advertisers might be upset. We'll have to keep an eye on the news for that. But like I said, don't check the news until Friday. Let's just all take a break from wrestling news until Friday, because we don't want that battle royal to be spoiled. Anyway, that was pretty funny though. And when we come back, Daddy Magic, Matt Menard is now in, and JR goes, Daddy Magic my ass. Which I don't know why he said that, but that's hilarious. So Menard comes in and takes out Moxley with a chair. Moxley's wound from Sunday, remember he was bleeding all over the place in Sunday's main event, is now open. So Moxley joins the Red Club, and damn, the Detroit crowd lets me down here by chanting tables at this point, which maybe they saw a table being we do get a table brought in on the next guy, so maybe they saw the tables, which I didn't know when I wrote this down in my notes, but I was disappointed because it's like, come on, you can have like all the weapons in the world, but if they don't have freaking tables, any crowd, any company, they're not satisfied. It's like, bro, I've seen 1,000 table spots. They don't really necessarily excite me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, Santana's now in, and he brings not only a table in, but a barbed wire bat. So, like I said, I'm the crowd probably just saw the table getting pulled out, and they started chanting tables. But yeah, not only a table, but a barbed wire bat. Santana goes after the freshest man in the match, Daddy Magic, which was a smart idea. But then Santana seemingly hurts his knee, slamming Garcia down right after that. It doesn't, I don't know if we ever, there's too much madness, but I don't think we ever saw any knee spots with Santana after this. So hopefully he's okay. Seemingly they never went back to the knee or talked about it ever again. And I don't know how much we saw out of Santana. Maybe Santana um, just took a rest during the rest of the match. So I hope we don't find out that um, it's a nasty, like 9-month ACL injury. Let's fingers crossed, because wow, there's just something in the air. So many wrestling injuries, like throughout every company. Anyway, Kool Ange is a bloody mess from the glass. Moxley has the fork again, but then he pulls out a big stack of skewers, and he jams like 20 skewers in a row all at once into Daddy Magic's forehead. Now he joins the All Red Club, and Yuta and Garcia have an epic striking exchange, like between the two rings, or like each standing in one ring and fighting. Like, it was just epic. And now Jericho comes in right after that. Jericho, of course, bringing Floyd the Bat with him. Ortiz takes out Jericho and uses a chair on him right away. Sammy then hits a top rope cutter on Ortiz to save Jericho. Yuta's now hitting a German on Sammy, and I thought Ty was giving something to Sammy, but I don't think that anything ever came out of that. So maybe they were just talking or whatever. Claudio then takes out Jake Hager with a great display of his power. Great power out of Claudio. Garcia then eats one of those elevator uppercuts from Claudio. Jericho then hits a code breaker on Claudio. Now Eddie Kingston comes in. He's got a kendo stick. Eddie smacks every single one of the JES on his way to Jericho, and the bell rings to start this match officially, even though like everybody's bloody and destroyed already. Jericho, but yeah, from now on, anybody that submits or surrenders, which I don't know the difference. I guess you could just surrender without being in a hold. That's the difference. Anyway, like if you didn't want to get thrown off the cage or whatever. I think that's how the other one ended. And then they threw him off anyway, right? They're like, "No, we'll surrender. We don't want you to throw Jericho off." And then they threw Jericho off, and everybody made fun of the crash pad that he landed on. But Jericho gets destroyed by Kingston with kendo shot after kendo shot here. The crowd's loving it. Then Kingston gets a bottle of rubbing alcohol, and Hager comes and saves Jericho. And the bottle was not opened, and we don't really get any rubbing alcohol spots that I can remember after this. So I wonder what he was about to do there. Anyway, like I said, Hager came and saved Jericho. Ortiz now hits everyone with chairs. We get a "This is awesome" chant. This is an awesome match. It's just a spectacle. I wouldn't really call this a match. This is a freaking spectacle. One that lasted for an hour. We get a Doomsday device by Yuta and Moxley to Garcia. So throughout this match, Blackpool Combat Club showing great teamwork. We get a double power bomb to Hager through a table. Really good looking spot. The table was wedged in between or not wedged, but like it fit perfectly in between the two rings. And nasty looking spot. How when it broke, it didn't really like give like normally since it was on the two aprons. Anyway, Kingston now bites Garcia's ear. Moxley has another black bag, but this time it's tacks that he spreads all throughout the ring. On the other side of the ring, Claudio's now ripping the canvas off the other ring to expose the wood. And come to think of it, I don't think they really did much with the exposed wood. So that's kind of a weird spot. I guess it's just the visual of all this carnage and all this red stains throughout the ring, and now half the ring on one of them is exposed wood, and there's tacks and glass and chairs, and I guess it's just, for the visual. Again, man, I wish I could have seen this live since I'm here in Detroit. Anyway, um Claudio then rips, like I said, he was ripping the canvas. Daddy Magic then goes back first, I should say, into the tax. So Daddy Magic takes a tax spot here. Couldn't have felt good. He's already busted over. He's the one that got the 20 skewers in his forehead a little bit earlier. Sammy Guevara's fighting for his life, but he's doing a pretty good job just fighting everyone off. Cool Hand Ange is now somehow outside of the cage, hanging upside down from one of the support beams and just dripping the red stuff everywhere. And we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. So nothing really came of that. That was just for that crazy visual as we go to ad break. When we come back, Jericho is now dragging Mox back first across the tacks, and then locks in the walls of Jericho on Moxley. The crowd's chanting for Eddie. Eddie stumbles on over the Jericho and throws tacks into his face. And this breaks the walls of Jericho. Jericho then runs to the other ring. Kingston follows him. We get an F him up Eddie chant. This is crazy. Eddie then gets the barbed wire bat, but Jericho hits Eddie in the eyes with fire extinguisher, like the actual like stuff that comes out of it. And Ty Conti then takes out the referee on the outside and steals the key. She unlocks the door and opens the door. Ruby Soho runs down. She takes out Ty Conti. The door is now open. Jericho climbs to the top of the cage. Eddie, of course, follows him up there, and holy crap, here we go. So the rest of this match all takes place on top of the cage. And Regal says, "Well, this is the one part I couldn't give advice to because I've never even been on the top rope, let alone on top of a cage," which was a really funny line. And Eddie takes out, if you remember, I remember it was like a SmackDown only pay-per-view, and it was Regal and Dave Taylor in a ladder match. And the whole premise of the ladder match was that they were too scared of heights to ever climb the ladder. So they would like destroy their opponents. I forget who it was. I feel like it was like Eminem or Paul London and Brian Kendrick, or maybe it was, I think there was multiple teams. But anyway, Regal's not lying when he says that. He didn't even climb that ladder in the ladder match, which was hilarious. Like something I like when you see stuff you never see. So having a team not refuse to climb a ladder in a match is hilarious. That's just how great Regal is. And having Regal on commentary for this match made it even better. But like I said, Jericho and Eddie are now climbing to the top of the cage. The rest of this entire match takes place up top of the cage. So get strap on in for the ending here. Jericho and Regal now mention the whole Mankind Hell in the Cell thing without naming Hell in the Cell or Mankind or WWE or King of the Ring or any of that. But they say 98 and oh, I was there that night. So they're really hyping up the danger here. Eddie now hits a low blow on oh no, Sam, I forgot to mention Sammy Guevara has now gone up there too. So Eddie is now outnumbered, but Eddie hits a low blow on Sammy and takes the straps down off his outfit. Eddie then throws Sammy off the cage, and this time instead of like a crash pad like Jericho, it seemingly was like stack of tables or something along those lines that had black sheets covering them. This looked way more impressive. Great stuff here. This looked definitely one of the lasting images is um, basically Sammy Guevara hitting a picture perfect swanton bomb off the cage through a table with no one on it. um, but much better than the Jericho spot. They definitely improved that. We go right from that, right when that happens, we go to our fourth and final picture-in-picture ad break of this match. There's really no action during this one. We're just like checking on Sammy and watching Jericho and Eddie on catching their breath. Eventually, Jericho gets up and Eddie crawls after him. They exchange forearms while on their knees while on top of the cage, and then they switch over to punches. So Eddie bites Jericho, then rips Jericho's shirt. And right as Kingston's about to do something, the picture-in-picture ad break leaves and goes to a full ad picture. So a full minute passes without seeing what happens. But when we get back, it doesn't look like we've missed much. Maybe some, I'm guessing there are some nasty chops to Jericho that we missed. Jericho then gets the walls on Kingston on top of the cage. But we see Claudio's now climbing the cage. So, oh boy, here we go. Remember my prediction before the match started was Claudio and Eddie are going to cost themselves their team the match by not getting along. So here we go. They're now on top of the cage with each other with Sammy and Jericho. Can they get along? So Claudio breaks the walls and then is about to do the giant swing to Jericho on top of the cage. I think he does get a couple revolutions, but Daddy Magic Matt Menard is now on the cage. So he saves Jericho, and Daddy Magic tries to hit a pile driver on Claudio, but Claudio blocks it and locks in the sharpshooter on Daddy Magic. Eddie also gets, I think it's called the plum stretch. Apologies if I got that wrong. Eddie locks that in on Jericho. So you've got Claudio with Daddy Magic, Eddie with Jericho, but Daddy Magic is the one to tap and lose the match for his team. So Claudio's music is the one that plays, and Eddie immediately looks pissed that Claudio was the one that got the win. Kingston isn't even happy they won. We see a bunch of highlights from the match while they kind of gather themselves. But after the highlights, Eddie does give Claudio a fist bump and says something. We don't know what he says, but seemingly he was okay with it, even though he definitely showed that he was mad when it happened. So Eddie was gave Claudio the fist bump. Like I said, Ortiz and Yuta are now on the cage to celebrate. Moxley's up there too, which means, oh no, oh no, that means Santana did get hurt for real. Because I don't think we ever saw Santana do anything else after that, and Santana was the only one not to celebrate on top of the cage here. So wow, that was one of the first moves Santana hit too. So anything that he was gonna do in this match, he didn't get to do, and now that was one of those injuries with those knees, man. It could be 9 months or something. Man, knock on wood. Hope it's just a bruise or something. But wow, that confirms it for sure. Because I would have definitely wrote Santana's name down. It was definitely Ortiz and Yuta that came up first, and Moxley took an age to get up there. Claudio helps Eddie to his feet at the end here, and then Excalibur reminds us that Rampage has the Rampage Royale 20-man battle royal, 2 rings for the number one contendership this Friday, and that CM Punk, whenever he gets healthy, will fight whoever is the interim champion at the time. So it seems like they kind of ended this match, this blood and guts match, a little bit earlier than expected. They kind of had to kill for time for a few minutes. We get a lot of celebration, and Cesaro's or Claudio's terrible music plays the whole time, which is that music sucks, man. It's like Malcolm in the Middle just started. But yeah, I'd much rather have them end a little bit earlier than having to rush things at the end and be short of time. So overall, amazing match. And like I said, not really a match, but a spectacle. Really good spectacle here. Really good storytelling all over the place. A lot of blood. If you're squeamish, this isn't the match for you. But I'm so desensitized to blood in wrestling matches. So I'm at the point where I don't need it because I'm so desensitized to it. So it doesn't do anything in for me, so just don't do it. But anyway, I'm not gonna complain against it either. If wrestlers want to do something, that's on their own will. If they're forced to do it and they didn't have a choice, that's another story. But um, overall, great match, good show overall. The first hour was all right. I mean, the Jade stuff was kind of nothing, and the Orange Cassidy match probably went a little too long for my liking, but it was all right. I love that FTR ended up being the special announcement, so I'm always cool with that. Seemingly, Daddy Ass has chosen a side, so that'll be something. And then don't forget the evil Luchasaurus entrance with the new black mask and the black tongue and lips and black outfit, and Christian might be the top heel in the business with MJF out. So just some great stuff here to look forward to. We've also got Scorpio Sky versus Wardlow for the TNT title next week in a street fight. So expect all kinds of shenanigans. We all assumed Wardlow's just going to win the title, but having it be a street fight means Ethan Page or any of the American Top Team can be there as well. So maybe Wardlow's going to beat 20 people at the same time again. And of course, the only ROH thing we got was that little bit of calling out for that we've had for a while. Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal seemingly are going to have a match at Death Before Dishonor, which is like July 22nd or something like that. I think we definitely need to bring some new blood into the women's division and then Jade needs to get the world title and vacate the TBS title because we need to get something going on here. Maybe women's tag titles are the answer, but I know everyone's like, oh, there's already too many titles and stuff like that. We definitely didn't need. We didn't even see Pac tonight, who didn't even barely got to celebrate his title win. So not even a mention of the All Atlantic title. Which did we really need the All Atlantic title? We could have had women's tag titles, and we're already getting the trios titles for the men. So overall, good stuff. Remember, the Young Bucks are sad that everybody's injured, but they're gonna fight Yoshihashi and Goto in kind of a um, what do they call those, like championship contender match? So that's gonna be a good match on Rampage, and it's also gonna be Nyla Rose versus Tony Storm, basically, seemingly in a number one contendership match. So good thing, and like I said, try and avoid the news if you don't want to find out. I guarantee you, like, what culture and the rest of the news people are going to be telling you all about who won that battle royal tonight on that's going to be on Rampage on Friday. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'll still be here to tomorrow to review NXT UK and Impact, but I'm just gonna avoid social media and I'm gonna avoid all the news podcasts and stuff like that. So, and of course, I'll be here Friday for Rampage, not immediately after the show, but sometime Friday night, I'll have my Rampage review up. And then every Friday, I have the flagship Wonderful Wrestling podcast as well, where I just kind of go over news and general things that happened over the week throughout wrestling, and look forward to the week that in the future, as well as gives my match of the week every week. So look out for that on Friday as well. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day. Peace.